Hello, welcome to Do It Yourself with Wayne. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're not going to repair something, we're going to produce something. But it's also a way to save money around the house, and that's what we're all about, is helping you learn how to do things yourself to save money. Today we're going to show you how we dry apples. And we love these things for a snack. Really good. Nice and crunchy. They keep a long time. You can rehydrate them for your cooking. We use them for stewed apples in the wintertime, apple pies, things of that nature. That's delicious. But it makes a very good snack. We use them more for snacking probably than baking, but it works great both ways. So today, I'm going to show you how we do this. We're going to show you the tools we use. We're going to show you some things that you may not want to do. I'm going to show you how to pick your apples, or how to choose your apples, I guess I should say, and how to peel them, core them, slice them, and dehydrate them. We're going we're going to go through all these steps and show you how we do it. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about is how to pick your apples. The tool that we use to core, peel, and slice our apples, it works really well. We'll get to that in a couple minutes. But if you've got an apple that's too large or too small, it doesn't work well. And also, now these are called Pink Crisp. It's a good, fairly hard apple. They're kind of tart. But if you get the soft apples, they just don't peel well. If you're peeling them by hand, it would be fine. But if you got one of the tools like I use that I'll be showing you here soon, the soft apples just will give you a lot of trouble. But anyway, these are Pink Crisp. We've used Granny Smith's, we've used Fuji's, Gala, but a good firm apple, medium size, not too large, not too small. They'll work better for you. Now, one thing I want to show you here, and it's going to be kind of hard for you to see, but I'm going to bring this up to the camera. That little bruise right there, you can see it. If you got apples with a bruise on them, they don't peel well in the peeler that I use. Now, here again, if you're peeling by hand, it's not a big deal, but it's best if you get apples that are not bruised if you're using the peeler like I'm going to be showing you that we use. So anyway, that's my tip for drying out, for choosing your apples. And at the end of this video, we're going to include a little tip about how to flavor your apples while you're drying them. So don't miss that near the end. Now I'm going to talk about the tools that you need to take care of your apples. If you got a paring knife, that's all you need. I can remember as a little child, I'd help my grandmother dry apples, and this is what she used. She'd peel them, core them, slice them, and set them out in the sun to dry. That's not how I do it, but it works. So you don't have to spend a lot of money here. What I have is a Pampered Chef peeler, which is this device. You can buy this exact thing under a lot of different brand names at Amazon and various other places online. They're usually $15 to $25, something like that. They're not very expensive, but if it looks like this, it's almost certainly the same thing. This one has the clamp where you can clamp it onto the edge of a cabinet or something. A lot of the newer ones have a suction cup base. I think that would work well if you had a nice smooth cabinet that you worked from. But they work really well. I'll show you more about how it works here in just a minute. But like I said, this is the Pampered Chef brand. And there's also a base that'll come with it sometime. This thing is designed for you to put it on here like this. And I can tell you, I've been real disappointed with this thing. I don't think it's, if you have to pay extra for it, I wouldn't get it. But it does come with them sometimes, and you might find it useful, but for me it just moved around too much. I've come up with a better way to mount it myself for my purposes, but your situation may be different. But you got to have something, whether it be just a knife or an apple core like this. But these, if you're going to do any apples at all, they're really worth the money. Now in my case, I mount my core peeler slicer to my cutting board that I set right here on the edge of my sink. I like having my sink available because I put water here for my apples, and then the peelings go here. And most of the juices, and you will have a lot of juice coming out of this, will end up in the sink instead of out on my counter or whatever. So now I'm going to zoom in on the tool itself and show you how it works. Now we've got a close-up view of the tool itself, so I can show you more of the features of the tool. Basically, you got a little lever here. You push that in, it lets this slide back. That's where you start out with. Your apple goes on here. This is the peeler part. It's spring-loaded, and it just guides across there. This thing is adjustable, but I have found that most of the time the way it comes works great. But you can adjust that little band there by loosening this to adjust that in or out if you want to cut shallower or deeper. But generally the setting that you have where it comes works, but you can adjust it. This part here, this edge right here is what slices your apple into slices. This actually has a cutting edge here, and as your apple goes in here, that cuts your core out. So that's the way it works. Now when you put your apple on here, always put the stem end in here. And when you slide it on like that, always try to make sure that this end of the core lines up with the center of your hole. Because if it's off center, your apple doesn't peel well. You need to just kind of visually just make sure it's centered up as well as you could. Push your apple in there like that, and at that point you're ready to go. Now this is the one with a couple little bruises on it, so it may not peel well, but we're going to try it anyway. Go ahead and slide up here a little bit closer and just start cranking the crank. And that's it. And for me, I just take my peelings, throw them over there in that part of the sink, slide my apple off, and there's your apple, all sliced up and ready to go in your dehydrator. Now I'm going to show you how I finish this up. Now to show the process, I got my apples in my water over here, and as you do this, and I've already did one apple, you get apple juice on your hands, which makes them real sticky. I always like to get my apple, rub it a little bit, use that water also to get that stickiness off my hands. Then I'll take the new apple, line it up, push it back, and just start cranking it. Now sometimes with some apples, when you get to this point, this part will want to start falling off the end. If it does that, just push it back on there, because if it starts falling off, it'll start tearing up your slices. But most of the time, it'll stay on there. So just continue cranking your tool. Just take this, throw it over here in the sink, get it out of your way. Just carefully slide this off. If you're not careful, you'll break it in pieces. And these end pieces, we just always do this when we're ready to eat. If you got a little bit of peeling, just slice it off. It's not a really big deal if it stays on there. It won't hurt anything. But it's better if you take it off. Sorry about the noise because I'm still eating. Now what you got is you got this. Well, you can't put them in the dehydrator like that. So I take my paring knife, and right here where the end is at, I just go right there, just do that. Now they're ready to go in the dehydrator. Now we're going to reposition the camera and show you that. So now, this is one of the trays out of my dehydrator. I'm not going to give you a link to my dehydrator because this thing's like 35 years old. You can't buy these anymore. But a good dehydrator will last you a long time. And we'll put a link in the description to some different dehydrators on Amazon. But just take your slices and just lay them out. You don't want them overlapping because they'll stick together, but put them as close as you can so you can get more apples in here. And just go around laying your apples out like so. Something like that. And then you put it in the dehydrator. Of course, I'll continue filling this up. I'll also continue peeling apples until I fill up all the different trays in my dehydrator, and we'll show you that here in just a moment. Okay, now a couple more little quick tips. I always just take my scrap peelings and throw them over there. but you got to get the core off the end. What you do, or what I do, I put my hand here like this, take my thumb and pull that down. When you pull this down, it releases the threaded part of this rod, so you can pull it back. When you pull it back, your core will fall off the end. Just pull it all the way back to get ready for the second or the next apple. One thing I want to show you, and it's a little bit hard to see, but see that little piece of peeling right there? If you get a little piece of peeling that ends up right there, this thing won't peel good. So always make sure if there's any little pieces of peeling right here, you clean those off. Now if it's back in there, there's a little bit back in there, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a little bit of apple back in there. That's not going to hurt. But if it's out here at the edge where it does the cutting, you need to pull that off or it won't cut the next apple very well. And also, you got to, like I said earlier, you got a cutting edge right here. You got a cutting edge here. Those are not bad to get pieces of apple peeling stuck on, but if they do, just let's wipe it off. Be careful not to cut your finger. And that way you're ready for the next apple and it'll cut good for you. Now at this point we're finished with coring, peeling, and slicing our apples and putting them in the dehydrator. And we do like our dehydrator, but there are different ways that you can dehydrate your apples. You can put them in the oven on a cookie sheet at a real low temperature. We've never done that, so I'm not going to give you a lot of instructions about that, but I'm sure you could find some directions if you wanted to do that. But we really like the dehydrator. In our case, we just plug it in and forget it till they're dry. Usually 2 days will work. We generally go 2.5 days because we like them a little bit crispy, but you can adjust the time depending on the method that you use and the dryer that you have to get the crispness that you want. So anyway, my tip that I mentioned that I'd show you, if you want a little extra flavor in your apples, get you some cinnamon and just lightly sprinkle it over the top. Some of that came out a little too heavy, but just a light sprinkle of cinnamon on there as those are drying. That'll stick to them as they dry. And then when you're having them for a snack, they'll have a little bit of a cinnamon flavor. Now most of the time we don't do the cinnamon. Sometimes we do. Personally, I like them just dried apples. But anyway, that's it for drying apples at home. And don't forget, we'll have some links in the description about how you can buy the slicing tool that we use, as well as some dehydrators. Now there's one last thing I forgot to tell you. I apologize for that. But when your apples are finished drying, as you can see, they don't take up near as much space as they did when we first put them in there. But what we do, we take Ziploc bags, usually smaller ones, not really large, and we just pick up all the apple pieces and put them in here. Just however. And I put more in here than this, but I'm just showing you what we do. But we put them in Ziploc bags and keep them in a cool, dark place, like they say for most things like this. But like this, they'll save for a very long time. We use them throughout the winter. If they last that long, a lot of times they don't because we enjoy them so much. Anyway, that's how we store our dried apples. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Click like on our video, share it with your friends, all those things. Really helps us grow and helps us bring you more tips to save money. So just like to say thank you for visiting. Do it yourself with Wayne, and we hope you have a great day.